have come at a crossroad in modern history. A new millennium where we see ourselves at the peak of human knowledge and comfortable lifestyle. But, like buying goods in a grocery, development came at an expense. Today, we live in a society of many contrasts. Abundance and shortage, good life and harsh death. A great time to enjoy the benefits of a great lifestyle. However, each and every aspect of our society has begun to show signs of damage or decline. How we always wanted them to disappear just like that, like shutting our eyes and pretending as if there's nothing there. But when we open our eyes once again, we realize they are still here, and they're here to stay. And we would have to deal with them someday. But what exactly do we have? Not enough housing for everyone, not enough land for rice, too much garbage, not enough vehicles to ferry people around, not enough roads, not enough classrooms, not enough hospital beds, not enough jobs, not enough food, dirty air, dirty water. It can take a day reading out the list, and it still cannot cover everything. But for the purpose of this documentary, we have grouped these physical problems into 4: land, air, water, and social aspects. However, it would be impossible to isolate one problem from any one group. It is best visualized as a web. For example, the problem of housing cannot be limited to being a social problem alone, but an issue of the environment as well. An issue that may be solved through the conversion of agricultural lands into residential lots. However, the loss of agricultural lands can lead to lesser production, and thus a threat to food security. A threat that may then be addressed through importation, which consequently reallocates the national budget to food and leaves other social needs like healthcare open to compromise. You see, this web can get overly complicated, complications that lead to worsening problems. During the last 103 years, the Philippines has lost 66% of its forest, and every day we are losing 367 hectares more. Imagine this field, once thickly covered with tropical trees, now turning into this. We lose this much in a single day.
The Philippines is the first country perhaps to have a reforestation project, and that is because we were the first country who deforested our forest. Okay, so in the last 100 years, based on our findings, our deforestation rate is much faster than our reforestation rate. 133,000 on the average hectares per year versus about 50,000 hectares of reforestation per year. So we have a shortfall of about 80,000 hectares per year.
Our air is no different. Pollution indicators scattered all over Metro Manila have recorded very high levels of air pollution. 70% of it comes from cars. Each car in Metro Manila emits half a kilo of pollutants for every kilometer of travel. Half a kilo of rice is nice. Half a kilo of carbon isn't.
The good news is actually the air quality is improving, no? From where we were when we started in 1992. Total suspended particulates still remains the #1 problem. Kaya lang, while it's improving, we are still above the standards.
And we still haven't mentioned the diseases that come from inhaling these pollutants. In addition to the air pollutants, we're also increasing our output of solid waste. On the average, each Filipino contributes as much as 1 kilo of solid waste daily. And of course, we are faced with scarcity and congestion. By 2040, there will be 4 Filipinos for every square meter of space in Metro Manila. Imagine how they will live. Should we entrust them to skyscrapers or other feats of construction engineering? Classrooms are also congested, with as many as 50 students to more than 100 cramped in a classroom that can hold only 30. A nightmare for our educators.
What's happening today? One is we have a very fast-growing population. So what happens is for 25 years, we're going to have high growth rates in schooling. We're not spending enough on education. In public education, we spend about maybe 7,000 pesos a year per child. You will always have shortages. You will not be able to afford enough teachers. You will not be able to afford enough classrooms. You will not have enough furniture, have enough books.
In the last National Achievement Test, the average mean percentage score of students stood at a low 64.81%. Yes, essence is subsequently diluted. 3 classroom shifts a day meant lessons on the appreciation of Filipino culture and nation building end up as lines to be memorized, sidetracking efforts to teach love of country, derailing the education of the heart. Congestion and scarcity in many fields. Right now, close to 3 million Filipinos still could not find a job. Even more could not avail of social security benefits that come along with stable employment. Hospital beds are not enough too, and just 6 doctors for every 10,000 Filipinos. What if a plague suddenly breaks out or a disaster? Will we be ready? Housing is scarce, with 1 out of every 3 families in the metro a squatter.
70% of our people are still landless in this country, and about 40% of them are squatting in the urban areas now. And with the colonies of informal settlers in Metro Manila, in Cebu, and the major urban centers, you introduce a lot of social problems to the surrounding communities.
Even safe water has become scarce. 1 in every 5 Filipinos does not have access to safe and sustainable water. Many make do with communal artesian wells and ration supplies.
While we recognize it as an economic good, everybody has to have access to that water. So that has to be addressed. As of year 2000, second to the lowest na tayo in Southeast Asia in per capita availability. By now, even less, no?
And finally, food. A perennial problem. Rice prices have hiked to as much as 40 pesos per kilo in 2008, such that rice had to be distributed under armed guard. Yet, almost 2 million sacks of rice still have to be imported every year, costing the economy some 59 billion pesos. No wonder 1 out of every 5 Filipinos is undernourished. Look at the child next to you in the street. He may be one of these. And chances are, he might not survive the next 10 years due to an illness that can be traced to poor nutrition. But coming back to look at our diagram of problems, we may come to realize one common denominator: an increase in demand. Putting the blame on the government would be a partial escape. Government agencies have worked very hard on these issues. The environment has been a priority. On land, reforestation and urban greening is the trend. Preservation efforts have also tightened during the past years.
And I think the way to go is to create more incentives for farmers, for local governments to keep areas forested.
Existing landfills are now due for closure and subsequent rehabilitation. The government has also been a party to many international environmental protocols, promising strict compliance to global standards. Those programs were accompanied by river rehabilitation projects and the development of water decontamination technology. On the social level, food production is given a constant boost through constant rice research.
If you compare the harvest of rice per hectare in the late 70s and now, we have exceeded doubling it. The problem, I think, in attaining self-sufficiency in rice in the Philippines is that we always have to catch up with population growth.
Education, health, and other social sectors are being attended to by government. Even the business sector has chipped in a lot of effort, time, and resources during the past decade to reduce poverty. CSR programs are raging across the country with positive effects. But still, not one of the problems mentioned have been solved in long-term, sustainable manners. Is there something wrong with all our efforts? Were we pointing our resources in the wrong directions? These programs were effective, but only for a certain length of time. Take the case of EDSA, When traffic began to clog this thoroughfare, the government responded by placing flyovers to relieve crucial junctions. But when transportation became too long and too crowded, they constructed a train. Eventually, however, they became crowded too. Why? Because no matter how big our projects become, they will not be enough. Yes, we may have constructed 1,000 schools today, but tomorrow we would be needing 2,000. And the next day, 3. It will not stop unless we begin to address a few things, like the issue of demand.
The issue of overpopulation, I think, is best expressed in terms of social services. For years, we have seen the deterioration of health and education services, and this is very, very clearly related to the issue of population.
Perhaps we must come to terms with the fact that our population is growing at a rate that our resources cannot follow. We are growing at a rate more than other nations with their billion-people population. Population increase puts greater pressure on available energy sources and public infrastructure. Everyone fears that the physical pillars of this society may no longer cope up.
The proportion of our population deemed poor is rising. The big problem of the Philippines is that we have not been able to grow fast enough to reduce poverty.
In environmental efforts alone, even at the peak of government and non-government efforts last year, we were only able to replenish about 150 hectares for the 367 hectares destroyed every day. Even our best efforts could not keep up. Like the oft-said quote, "It's good, but it ain't good enough." Our demand outpaces our technology. What then needs to be done? Hundreds of questions arise from every awakening. Do we concert our efforts? Do we issue permanently placed assets? Do we provide consultancy? Or do we simply integrate our programs into one unified, all-in approach? But then, towards what target? Such complicated issues need a holistic approach, one that is systematically planned, one that is unified, web-like, similar to our web of problems.
Unless it is a holistic approach towards community transformation, nothing is sustainable.
We need a better, more organized act, one that hits right on target. We need our programs well-placed, effective, and maximized, because CSR does not come cheap. It is up to you how your business will spend its resources on such endeavors. But come to think of it, will they come to achieve your purpose or defeat it? And so we are left with a choice of abundance or lack, a society of plenty or empty. The question is, how will you contribute this time around?